Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies, and this is Notes on Continental Currency by Manly P. Hall. An article from Horizon, Volume 16, Number 3, Winter 1956. Notes on Continental Currency. It is pointed out that at the beginning of the War of Independence, the American colonies were without a national treasury. If the new government was without debt, it was also without credit, and those appointed to provide money for the continuation of the revolution were not only unskilled, but were forced to proceed with extraordinary caution. One of the principal grievances against England had been taxation, and the Continental Congress was scarcely in a position to impose a heavy financial burden upon the citizens. Between 1775 and 1779, Congress issued about $240 million in paper money, and this, combined with the emissions of the local legislators, totaled in the end over $450 million, represented in the public pocket by crude and poorly printed paper promises. It is doubtful if the Congress could have weathered the Revolutionary War had it not been for the strong and continuous financial assistance from France. The value of the paper money poured out by Congress fell rapidly, and by 1779 a paper dollar was worth only 2 or 3 cents in hard money. During the involved financing program dreamed into existence by Alexander Hamilton and his associates, there was extensive speculation which ended in general discontent, with the exception of a few who had placed themselves in a position to gain by any fluctuation in the value of the early notes and securities. In 1790, a bill for funding the national and state debts became a law, and the bills of credit issued during the Revolution by the Continental Congress were redeemed at 1 cent on the dollar. This hurt everyone, including the speculators. As a result, only a small part of the currency was ever redeemed, most of it being held as mementos of a tragic event. At one time, the situation was so ridiculous that the barber shops papered their walls with the bills, and sailors receiving their pay in worthless paper money sewed it together to form suits of clothes in which they frolicked about the streets. When at last, in 1801, the Jeffersonians took the government from the Federalists, there was a convenient fire in the Treasury, which destroyed most of the evidence of prejudice legislation in connection with the currency. From that time on, historians have referred to the issue as academic. One immediate interest, however, is the continental currency itself, examples of which, in varying degrees of decrepitude, have survived, and of which at the present time there are many large and carefully arranged collections. This currency was issued under 3 general classifications. From May 10, 1775 to February 26, 1777, the currency bore the inscription, "The United Colonies," with the issue of Philadelphia. May 20th, 1777, the inscription was altered to read, "The United States." The last issue with this inscription came out in Philadelphia September 26, 1778. The following year, January 14, 1779, new paper currency was issued for the first time printed in 2 colors, red and black, and inscribed, "The United States of North America." Most of the continental currency, with its 3 subsequent inscriptions, was issued in Philadelphia, but there were also printings in Baltimore and Yorktown, of which the latter are the more scarce. Each series of this currency, distinguished by date, included a number of values, but all denominations were not issued in each series. The total of denominations extended from $16 to $80. The 3 highest values and several intermediate denominations occur only in the last printing of 1779. In general, the bills were miserable productions, and the accompanying illustrations will speak louder than words. This currency was sat from type and specially prepared woodcuts, and the bills were invariably decorated with signatures and usually numbered. On the reverse were elaborate patterns of leaves, perhaps to distinguish counterfeiting. This was not successful, however, as the bills multiplied miraculously through the private industry. All values above and including the $1 had distinguishing vignettes on the obverse side. This may have assisted in easier identification by illiterate persons. There were in all 20 different vignettes, of which all but one was circular, the square being reserved for the values under $1. The $4 bill of the United Colonies. Is the boar on this currency a Baconian landmark? Each of the vignettes was surrounded by a motto in Latin. Investigation shows that there were several renderings of each vignette, with the possible exception of the higher values. The procedure was systematic, and these same vignettes were used in Baltimore and Yorktown as well as Philadelphia. A study of these symbolic devices suggests that many of them were derived from the emblem books of the 17th and 18th centuries. They included numerous curious devices, of which 3 are represented here. All the $4 bills bore the likeness of a wild hog or boar facing the head of a spear, and the following motto, which may be translated, either death or an honorable life. Thus we see our old friend, the Baconian boar, which had an earlier appearance upon the Hog Island shilling, the first coinage for the Western Hemisphere. The $40 denomination is most intriguing and may certainly be regarded as an essentially Masonic emblem. Incidentally, this first appeared in the Yorktown series of 1778. It represents an all-seeing eye surrounded by clouds. From the eye descends rays, among which is a circle of 13 stars surrounding a flaming altar. The single word, Confederation, inscribed on a ribbon, completes the vignette. The $50 emblem also appears first in 1778 and consists of a pyramid, disproportionately high for its width, composed of 13 steps and with a small door in the base. The Latin inscription translates, everlasting. There can be no doubt that an Egyptian pyramid is intended, probably Giza, because it is the only one distinguished by the flat platform on top. Early artists nearly always exaggerated the proportions of their drawings of these Egyptian pyramids, much as in the case of this vignette. Vignette for the $40 bill of the United States Continental currency. This design suggests a strong Masonic influence. Vignette from the $50 bill of the United States Continental currency. Note the door in the pyramid and the absence of the other symbols which occur on the Great Seal. Other vignettes in this series have interesting emblems, some with Masonic implications. For example, the vignette on the $45 note shows 2 beehives under a shed, accompanied by the model, thus flourishing the Republic. The vignette for the $3 bill shows 2 birds fighting and is copied almost exactly from alchemical symbols of the 17th century. We are especially interested, however, in the possible relationship between the vignettes of the Continental currency and the final form of the Great Seal of the United States. Among the designs submitted in 1782 for the Great Seal were Masonic columns and a phoenix bird nesting in flames. All of these devices seem to indicate a particular plan or purpose behind the selection of the various emblems. The accompanying design on a special medal or token cast to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Great Seal shows the exaggerated pyramid, but the door has been omitted. Above the pyramid is the all-seeing eye in an upright triangle surrounded by rays. Thus, the reverse of the Great Seal combines elements from the vignettes of the 40 and 50 Continental bills. The 2 inscriptions are also interesting. The one above may be translated, He, being God, has smiled on our undertaking. The lower inscription translates, A new order of the ages. Both of these mottos are derived from Virgil. The reverse side of the Great Seal of the United States from the medallion struck in 1882. On the obverse of the seal, we have a branch with 13 leaves in the right claw of the eagle, and a bundle of 13 arrows in the left claw. Around the head of the eagle are grouped 13 stars, which appeared first on the vignette of the $40 Continental bill. Accordingly to the date on the medallion, It was probably cast about 1882, and it is interesting to compare it with the more recent forms of the design as they occur on the $1 bill. It will be noted that the proportions of the pyramid have been considerably altered, although it will still not quite conform with the Egyptian type. The pyramid is now covered with casing stones, which are said to number 72, a highly significant biblical number. Shrubs have been placed around the base of the central structure, and the lower motto is on a ribbon. On the obverse of the present seal, these stars are grouped into the form of a six-pointed star or Solomon's seal. Berries have been added to the branches of leaves, and the head of the eagle and the general proportions of the bird have been considerably modified. The tuft of feathers at the back of the bird's head has been lost. The neck has been shortened or widened, and the wings have been considerably enlarged. On the medallion, the traces of the phoenix originally used are considerably noticeable, but on the modern banknote, a conventional eagle is depicted. Concerning the total design of the Great Seal, Professor Charles Eliot Norton of Harvard has left us the following precious remark. The device adopted by Congress is practically incapable of effective treatment. It can hardly, however artistically treated by the designer, look otherwise than a dull symbol of a Masonic fraternity. See the History of the Seal of the United States by Galliard Hunt. The obverse of the Great Seal of the United States from the medallion struck in 1882. Students of symbolism will find this a most intriguing field for research. The evidence of the Baconian secret society, in the form of the bull and the cluster of emblems used for the vignettes of the colonial bills, and slowly progressing until the most significant and the most Masonic of them are incorporated into the Great Seal, might lead us to suspect that they constitute a legitimate landmark. The gradual transformation to the present time can also be considered of interest in terms of psychology. The phoenix is a bird of regeneration, and the eagle, last associated with the banners of Caesar and Napoleon, is a bird of strength and temporal power. As the nation progresses in the expansion of its world influence, let it not forget that it was fashioned also from the regeneration of men, and was to stand for the new order of the ages. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.